Hello my loves, welcome back to Music and Beauty TV. Thank you so much for subscribing, and we're going to jump right into this tutorial. This is a crochet feed-in braid top knot bun with faux bangs hairstyle. A lot of you requested that I do the crochet feed-in method on someone else other than myself, which is how I did it in the original video. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out. But in this video, you will see me doing it on another person as well as incorporating it into an entire style. So let's get started. All of the products that I use will be listed below, and I'll let you know what products I'm using as the style progresses. So right now I'm using some Shea Moisture black castor oil to pretty much put some oil in my client's hair. We're about to use a whole lot of hairspray and edge control, so I want to make sure her hair is well moisturized before we get to all of that. Next, I'm going to use this Design Essentials scalp tonic all throughout her scalp and massage that in. And then we're going to jump into parting this style off so that we can separate the back from the front. In the back, I'm going to be doing the crochet feed-in braids, so I'm going to start with those first. After separating the sections, then I'm going to do one regular feed-in braid in the center of the back of her head, as you see. I actually have a couple of videos on how to do feed-in braids. If you don't already know how to do feed-in braids, then check my channel for those. This one is very simple. I'm only feeding in 2 strands of hair just so that the braid can last a little bit longer. Now, the first step to doing the crochet feed-in method is to create a part in the center of your braid and section that off so that you can put a braid there. This braid is going to be where you hook in all of the hair. The reason why this method is so cool, as I said in my last video, is if you have difficulty feeding hair in as you are braiding, this allows you to feed all of the hair in at once, basically with the crochet method, and then go in and braid the braid as you would a standard braid, and you'll be able to grab that hair along the way, which will give you a fatter, more chunky, Ghana style braid without having to do the difficult work of feeding it in. So follow along so you can learn. Next, I'm going in with some Vanti Silk Effects to begin laying down the sides of her hair, but then I'm going to separate them because I need to crochet the hair into the center before we actually start braiding. Now, I started out with smaller pieces that will gradually get bigger. After I hook the piece of hair in, then I'm going to tie it in 1 knot. You can tie it twice, which is what I did on my last video. Once or twice, whatever makes it most secure, depending on the type of hair that you're using. I ended up going back into this braid and adding some hair to these pieces because they weren't quite thick enough, but just wanted to show you the original footage so that you get the gist of how to do it. And as I move up the braid, the chunks begin to get bigger, and as they begin to get bigger, sometimes it's harder for them to fit through the crochet needle. So that's what I'm showing you right here, to twist that hair a little bit so that it can fit on the crochet hook. So when you loop it through and pull it underneath the braid, that hair can be pulled through the braid seamlessly. And since these chunks up here are a little fatter, just as I did in my last video, I'm going to add some rubber bands. That way I can have security in knowing that it's not going to come out. Don't worry, because this is the end of the braid, those rubber bands will be covered up with ease because there will be so much hair being braided over them. Once I finish hooking all the hair in, I'm going in with some even edge control, and I'm going to lay those sides down just a little bit more. I ended up discovering once I got to the second braid that I never needed the Vanti Silk effects with this client's hair. Even edge control and a little bit of hairspray worked just fine. And we're gonna get started. So you're gonna start this cornrow off just as you would any cornrow. I didn't mention this before, but make sure when you're doing the braid that you leave at least an inch or more of the person's hair out before the actual crochet braid starts, because you're gonna need to start your braid with the person's natural hair. As I'm braiding up and I begin to get to the hair that has been hooked in, then I'm just seamlessly pulling that hair into the braid. There shouldn't be too much difficulty on this part. I had a little bit more difficulty when I did it on myself, but I'm noticing doing it on someone else, it's so much easier. And voila, just as I said, we have a beautiful feed-in braid that was not as difficult as your typical feed-in method. And now we're just gonna do the exact same thing on the other side, so I'll shut up and just let you observe. And once those braids are complete, we're gonna turn the client around and get started with this top knot bun. Now, the reason why I'm putting so much product on her hair, as you see with this even edge control and hairspray, is because, like I said, I really want this style to hold. If this is something you're just throwing in your hair for a day, it is not necessary to put all this product in your hair. And you're gonna end up sliding all this back and putting into it as tight of a ponytail as you can handle. As you can see, I pulled together the braids from the back into the ponytail from the front. So you're going to separate your client's natural hair from the braiding hair extensions, and you're going to make an initial bun. That bun is necessary so that you can wrap the rest of the hair around to create the height that you're going to need for the top knot bun. Right now, what I'm doing with the hair that's left is I'm twisting it into a long twist, and we're going to end up adding some more hair and doing yet another twist. Altogether, this is about a pack and a half worth of hair. So I'm going to go in with that second twist I added and begin the first part of the top knot bun. You're going to have to mess with this a little bit and figure out your own groove to it. Just make sure that it's tight, it's neat, and it flows. As you can see, I'm going through with hairpins and I'm sticking them in along the way. Do this as much as you need, but try not to do it too much because you don't want these pins to come out, stick out, or stab your client. But you definitely want this bun to be secure. And after securing that first twist, then I'm going in with the other twist and just wrapping it until I see fit. Voila, and the bun is done. Now we're gonna go in and do these faux bangs really quick. So I'm taking the tracks that you guys saw me show you in the beginning of the video, and I'm gonna begin to just wrap those tracks around underneath the bun that has been created. When you do this, stick the first part of the track in with a pin. Make sure that it's very secure. And then after that, you can just kind of glide it around the ponytail, constantly making sure that it's tucked underneath that bun snugly, and you don't really have to add another pin until you get to the end. So now I'm just going to separate the portion of the hair that I'm going to use for her bangs, and the rest of it I'm just going to pull back and turn that into yet one more twist, and then we're going to wrap that around and pin that in so that it's tight and snug and it blends. Make sure that you find braiding hair and weave hair that match as close as possible in color because you don't want this to look off. You want it to look as natural as possible. Now I'm going in with a razor to give her some razor cut bangs. You can do blunt bangs if you want to, but this client wanted them to be a little bit more natural looking, feathered at the ends, so we're going to use a razor. Now my razor is definitely dull and it's time for me to replace it, but I didn't have a replacement today, so be very careful on this part. I use a razor a lot, so I know how to work with it without harming my client. But if you're new to razor cutting, always make sure your razors are sharp. That way you don't have to struggle as much as I am to achieve this look. So I'm going through section by section. Be very careful when you're cutting your bangs. Do it gradually. Don't try to cut everything off all at once if you don't know what you're doing. Just gradually make incremental cuts and snips until you achieve your desired look. After my razor cut, then I'm going in with my shears and I am just thinning out those ends a little bit more. And once I achieved my desired bangs, then I just went in with some Vanti hairspray. Any type of holding hairspray that you have will work. And then I'm going to go in through with some oil sheen spray and spray that down so she can have a little bit of shine.